My name is Karen Hall. In 2018, my ex hired murderers and stalkers. It actually started in 17 when we got money for a driveway. He said we didn't have enough money for something. And we had money disappear from the safe after he got his bonus, about $5,000-6,000. I thought he was cheating. Been married 33 years. My car was getting scratched up. We had my 50th party, my whole family. My oldest son, John, his family, Melissa, and her kids showed up. Even Melissa sat next to me. I have witnesses thereof in my phone. Nothing bad ever happened to anyone. Extremely good mother and grandmother. And a good wife. By August, John and Melissa had gotten a fight. They had broke up several times, cheating on each other. She called me up. She was threatening to take a gun and start shooting people, and I talked her down. And they went back to a church that I told them not to go, that they'd break them up. They went ahead and went back there. We had got a security system because my car was getting scratched up. And if they were that close to my house where we were renovating it to move out to the country for a retirement home, that if I could hear them, sometimes I could hear voices, but I couldn't see anybody, and there'd be a scratch on my car every morning. I got a security system after living there 25 years. Well, before Christmas, I found Dave in the changing room crying, I can't. And I said, I got up in the middle of the night and wiped his tears. I'm like, who are you talking to? No one. He sinks his head into my body crying, I can't. And he cries himself to sleep. He's going to work early. I think he's cheating. And I try to get my other daughter-in-law, Dixie, to follow him. Thank God she didn't. He got caught with pot in his system. He was exposed to. He didn't participate. We're Christians. We don't do drugs. And he got suspended for a week. We had attempted break-in. They tried to go through the basement window where we had plexiglass. I had sealed around we had a 1938 house. I sealed around it and I couldn't get the hose off. And, it's sealed tight, where they could have pulled the plexiglass off and pushed the window open and slipped down and turned off the electricity, turned off the security system, came up and killed me. Instead, they tripped over the rig, pulled the antenna down, and disarrayed everything. We called the police the next day, and they said it makes no sense. They're talking to my husband. Why wouldn't they go through an upstairs window? He said they knew where the security system, the officer gets in his face. You're part of it. They're individually set up. He said something else, and I thought, he's misspeaking. And he's yelling at him because everything he's saying, he's putting himself in the middle of it. And I'm like, sir, can you just drive by? He's like, oh, ma'am, we'll drive by. Trust me, we'll drive by. So then he tells my grandson, enjoy, Grandma, now you won't have her after Christmas. Scares him to death. Where are you going, Grandma? I'm not going anywhere. So then let's see. I told him to cut it out and stop teasing him. It's not funny. So, we go to Christmas, and Melissa and John's kids, we bought them brand new bikes. We call them, we're over there, and they're not home. And I'm like, can we just leave the bikes inside your kitchen? Yeah, go ahead and go in. So we put them in there, got great big 3 to 5 inch name tags on them. Well, we go out and run around, do some things we have to do. It's either that night or the next day. We stop by her family's there, Jackie and her family. They're teasing him for having pot in the system. Did you not know how they smoke pot? Like, he wouldn't know the difference at 60. And I'm dying laughing at him because I thought he cheated and he's going to get caught. And I'm bending over laughing. And so they said, we wouldn't thank you for your bikes because some other lady bought them in the church. And I'm like, what do you mean somebody else bought them? Well, come March, our house is done. It's up for sale. I go to, Bill was our agent, and he wasn't in the area all the time, so he let me show it. Well, I had the house spotless, and I was wanting to go get out and get a ride, and get some coffee. And I always went down to Bailey's. It's easier. Dave's like, go Lincoln Way, so much easier. I'm like, I don't want to go Lincoln Way. And he just kept pushing. It's like, fine, I'll go Lincoln Way. Lincoln Way was actually open. I jumped 5 lanes. I see a car at Davis. So I thought, well, he'll just move over. He gets 5 lanes, sees behind me. I'm like, that's weird. I move over, he moves over. That's weird. I go down to Genoa, and he turns his turn signal too, and I'm like, okay, if he's following me, I'm going to go back to Bailey, and then I'll find somebody home or go to the police station. Well, I get stuck at Bailey. There was one, I got my wheel turn. I have a bigger SUV by then. 1 car goes by, 2 cars go by. He hits me doing 45, gets stuck between me and the building. The officer, I forgot to tell the officer there was a black car with tinted windows sitting off to the side, took off when the sirens showed up. He asked me to pull over, and the guy's acting irate. And he said he's up to something and I can't prove it. And he said, I can't let you go home alone. And he called my husband and told him that. Everybody kept saying I should know this one girl, and I knew her parents, and I never had trouble with them. So by chance, I look them up, and it's one of the minister's nieces, great niece's Facebook friend. Follow me. Let's see. I have an ex-friend that I help clean out her apartment. I've been good to her for years. She walks me out. A van pulls up. Side door goes open. Jeans, white tennis shoes, grayish white hoodie. I got her. I looked at her and I said, go in the building. And she goes straight for the building. I throw my boxes in the car. I started. I put it in reverse, and as I'm putting it forward, he hits the back of my car. She got away. And he lunges off of the back of my car and goes around. By May, we move out. And it's Memorial Day. Right before that, in between March and May, I think it's closer to May. I always say March, but I think it's closer to May. We cleaned out the garage. We had to drop John's stuff off. Melissa comes outside, and John had got a hold of us. She's leaving me again. Don't tell her. And we always try to stay out of their marriage because it's their marriage. And they fight out and break up all the time. So the kids come out, and they're like, hi. And it's like, hi. We got John's stuff. Just put it against the house. So they put it there. We talk about the new house for a minute, and we leave. Okay. I work all summer long on that house. Well, before that, in May, when we move out, we had stored some stuff at Danny's. We had to go get it, and we all wanted to get curtains for the basement windows. We go down to the Maslin Walmart. We see John's kids inside. Grandma, Papa, what are you doing here? And they come running towards me. And Dave. And it's like, oh, we're buying curtains. What are you doing? And I forget. And we're just a minute inside Walmart. Well, on the way home, back way, this white car is in front of me. It turns completely sideways. Jeans, cowboy boot, black hair. And I'm like, Dave, I think I'm getting hurt. I throw it in reverse. Where are you? I turn down the side road. I'm like, turn down the side road. Where are you? And I'm like, throwing it in reverse, starting to back up. A white car pulls up on the corner. He steps back, and he didn't get a chance to turn around, and pulls his car straight and takes off. I was so pissed at him. I wasn't wrapping my mind around that he was actually doing all this. I work all summer on the house. The 4th, the kids, we have a picnic, or a cookout. John's late. He's always late. I had to reheat up their food. Seen them 2 minutes at the table. They ran to the basement, had pillow fights with my twin grandsons. I go outside and I drink water with Jen. And when it got too warm, we went inside and they left through the basement door and didn't say goodbye. Now, I think Kelsey and John and Noah and Riley came up and showed him the house one time. And Kelsey's a sweetheart. And they were only there for a minute, and I sat up front with John. We went and got Pizza Hut in town. And one time when Kelsey moved out, we went over, and I think the middle one was there, wasn't alone, helped move a couple dressers, washed some dishes, and ran using the Swiffer, and John's moving furniture out for me to Swiffer under it. The middle one even ran outside to wave goodbye. I didn't see anybody until Thanksgiving. Now, in between then, I went for an interview. I got hired to be an assistant manager for a loan place. They didn't know which store to put me in. So, only Dave knew I was going to this one place. And, the district manager called me on the way up there. I'm new to the area. I want to meet this other manager instead. So I put it in my GPS and I go out and meet her. Well, we live way out in the country in giant woods, 200-foot trees in case of my house. On the way back, it's raining and we have a really long driveway. Our security cameras don't go to the road. I'm talking to my mother about everything. And Dave calls me, why won't you go in the house? I'm like, you home? No. Why won't you go in the house? I'm like, Dave, that's not funny. There's no... He's like, you're at the end of the driveway, why won't you go in the house? I said, Dave, that's not funny. I don't have any apps in my phone to trace me. And I'm looking, and it's raining really hard. There's not one. I said, Dave, that's not funny. Why won't you go in the house? You're at the end of the driveway. Why would you think I'm at the end of the driveway? Are you home? No, and there's no one around. And about that time, the district manager calls in, what's your problem? I said, what do you mean, what's my problem? You were rude to so-and-so. I don't need that person. You sent me to the other store. Well, she said, I don't know what she said, but I never met her. And she yells at me, and I hang up on her, and my mom's like, he's up to something. So the next morning, I didn't say anything to Dave. I just put it in my GPS. I got in my vehicle and went up there. I want to meet the person I'm right to. So I go in, the district manager and the assistant manager. And they said, well, you know Karen. I said, like, I never met this woman before in my life. And I said, by the way, I'm Karen. It's nice to meet you. I shook his hand, and I said, you sent me to the other store. She looks puzzled. She looks at him. She looks at me. I said, I've never been here before. You sent me to the other store. He's like, I've never met this woman before in my life. Well, you said, I know what I said, but it wasn't her. He should grab some water, takes me outside. I'd like to offer you a job back. I'm like, this is too weird. I gotta think about it. In between then, this one girl in his church was leaving threats in the mall. Our church had a lesson. They teach me a lesson I never forget, and a permanent plan to do away with me. Well, Dave had called one girl a heifer in the mall, and I told him to cut it out. And they had found out. And, yeah. I told him cut it out. But they were threatening my life. They had a permanent plan to do away with me. My one friend that I told you is the next friend, I had called her. I was talking to her on the phone. She asked me down for prayer. I felt tight. I didn't go. She doesn't know I know. Because I realized later she was part of the attempted kidnapping. I had her on speaker. She's like, this lady pays me $10 an hour. And she, here to pick up her kid. And she said, I'm cleaning off my counter so it looks nice in here. She had me on the counter, tiny senior citizen apartment. I heard And she's like, I gotta go. She's here. I almost hung up and I thought, he's cheating. I'm gonna catch. Because who pays somebody $10 an hour for one kid? You know what I mean? So I hear, guess who I was on the phone with? You're kidding. I almost tricked her into prayer, where those two guys would show up and take care of her. You know they pay people to know where she's at. I could have used some money. I actually told her I'd step in for prayer for her, as if. I couldn't believe it came out of my own mouth. And then they started insulting Kaylee for using another minister because Keith charged too much money. And then they said, well, you know who was in that meeting to take up the $25,000 to hire those two men? It was Bishop Keith Strange and Ron. And Ron wants her dead because she got wealthier. His kid died. I started gasping, and I finally hung up. He's like a millionaire. And I remember when I was really sick and I got documents, I was sick. Strange was telling everybody I was faking. And he had already lost it at the funeral. And 8 years later from that, was on a microphone. Had a microphone on the pulpit at another church, blaspheming God how much he hated him for taking the thing he loved his most. It wasn't God's fault. Phil ran a stop sign. He was late for a baseball game. My whole family meets 20 miles away. They were running late. He ran a stop sign. That's time I hit him, blew up their car. Phil wasn't even showable. And Tyler got ejected. They said, somebody said it broke his neck. I'm not for sure, but he was dead instantly. It's Phil's fault. If he stopped for that damn stop sign, they'd both be alive. I go in and I want to start opening a checking account because I gotta move money. And this blonde lady is a waitress in town. She comes in at the Huntington Bank. I get paid to watch her. The banker said, lady, stay out of it. She's like, no, I get paid to watch her. He's like, lady, I mean it. Stay out of it. It won't be worth it, man. And they're arguing back and forth. She's like, no, I get paid to watch her. I'm just looking at her like she's nuts. He's like, lady, I mean it. Stay out of it. It won't be worth it, man. And around that time, I got too scared to leave the house. And I go to Giant Eagle. And I get dizzy. And I sit on the bench. Well, before I sit on the bench, Dave calls me, where are you at? I'm buying something for dinner. What would you like? And he said, I got a phone call to me. Don't go. Please don't go. He won't answer his phone. After I pay for the stuff, I sit on the bench. I hear a voice. I can't believe she's here. He comes up behind me. I'd stab you right here now if it wasn't for that security guard. I could see the security guard, and I couldn't scream. I was down in Walmart. Man walked up to me, looked me dead in the eye like a dead animal. What a shame. Just stared. No light whatsoever in his eyes. September 3rd through 6th, we're out spreading mulch. Had 4 days off, and we always went to the mountains or fishing. He couldn't even go to church. He had to have the flower beds done. I told him just drop the mulch. It's in the 90s. I'll do it next week. Worked on that house all the time. I even set up his garage and his tools. What's the big deal? It wasn't working. I mean, I could do it next week. We couldn't even go to church. She's screaming at me outside. He wanted this one girl, Katie. And I looked at him and said, well, you want another woman? I'll take my things and leave. No, I'll leave. Jack and I had this plan since March. I said, you got something planned? I'll give up everything willingly. Jack said, you wouldn't be willing to give up everything willingly. And we have to do it this way.
He walked up to me. My girlfriend's rich and powerful. Her family owns the place. You won't be able to withstand. I told him, I said, it's not a communist country. Nobody owns the place. My brother-in-law was a private consultant for the FBI and restricted and did war weapons, worked at the Pentagon. He was an amazing, brilliant genius. And I thought if you own the place, I'll go to the FBI. You got connections, I'll go higher. I made a mistake. I was dating an agent's daughter. A young blonde girl named Michelle. I didn't know about. A woman came up to me. Your husband was caught in town with another woman, and what they were saying was unsettling, and she looked scared and walked off. I'm like, who the hell are you? I gotta stop for a minute. I'm gonna get in too deep.